Today's video is going to be a short but fun one regarding the series Avatar The Last Airbender and my favorite character in the show, and that would be Iroh of the Fire Nation. Now you might be saying, what? Iroh? Not Zuko? Aren't you the guy who loves Kylo Ren and redemption stories? Well, yes to all of that. However, while I do think Zuko as well as every member of Team Avatar are extremely well written characters, it's Iroh who has my heart and left the greatest impression on me. So I want to explain why that is, and PS, spoilers ahead. There's no way I can say what I need to say without spoiling important moments from this series. So, to start, we have to discuss what circumstances created the Iroh I came to love, which means that we are quickly recapping what happened during the Siege of Ba Sing Se. Over the course of the series, we learn that long ago, Iroh led an assault on the Earth Kingdom which lasted 600 days, and is regarded as one of the most legendary battles ever. During this time, Iroh also believed in the ideals of the Fire Nation, being the next in line to be Fire Lord, favoring anger and power as well as superiority over others rather than seeking equality or balance. Does that remind you of someone? While Iroh was still presented as a silly uncle in the flashbacks we see from this time of his life, during this time he also jokes about burning Ba Sing Se to the ground like it would be funny to witness. Essentially, he bought into the Fire Nation propaganda. But then tragedy struck. Iroh's only son, Lu Ten, was killed in the battle during the siege. Not only did this devastate Iroh emotionally, but it caused Iroh to radically reconsider what it means to lead a good life. And he left his position as general to grieve his son, as well as to learn about the world.
That's rough, buddy.
Now, why is this all important to why I love Iroh? Well, Iroh's tragedy forced him to reconsider what is truly important in his life and how he will live it. And his newfound philosophy is displayed in a handful of episodes, one of which is impossible to not discuss if we're going to talk about Iroh. Yes, we're going into Tales of Ba Sing Se. This vignette is the pinnacle of Iroh's idea of living a good life, but it's also a heartbreaking story. We see Iroh soothe a young boy by singing, teach a group of kids that owning up to mistakes is always the best option, and then he teaches a wannabe crook a stronger fighting stance while listening to his troubles over some tea.
This is so great. No one has ever believed in me.
And finally, after these three encounters, Iroh ventures to a hill on the inner walls of Ba Sing Se, laying out a picture of his deceased son, Lu Ten, in honor of his birthday. Iroh then says to the image of his son, "If only I could have helped you." And then he begins to sing the same song that he sang to the young boy earlier in this vignette, Leaves from the Vine. If this episode didn't make you cry, you might be a robot. What this all comes down to is that Iroh's entire focus, because of his inability to save his only son, is to impart a fatherly-like wisdom to almost everybody that he meets, as well as to seek balance in everything that he can, wherever he can. He also is a man of action when necessary. By no means has Iroh become a pacifist. He just believes in a higher ideal of life than what the Fire Nation sought to achieve through domination. And in honor of Lu Ten, the one that he couldn't help, Iroh spreads his own gospel to various characters in each season. When we take a look at his nephew Zuko, Iroh, who at this point is retired, accompanies Zuko on his quest because he not only loves him, but he can see that Zuko's quest for honor is actually steeped in toxic shame at the hands of his own father. Iroh's greatest wish for Zuko is to escape the trappings of false honor and to define within himself what it means to live an honorable life. And this is just like what Iroh did when he left Ba Sing Se to learn about the world. And of course, Iroh thinks of Zuko as his son, so his only wish for Zuko is to find the right path in his life, to have a life of peace. In the episode titled Bitter Work, we also learn about the shame Zuko holds inside of him, preventing him from learning to generate lightning. However, what Iroh ends up teaching his nephew is a way to redirect the energy of lightning using a technique he created by learning from waterbenders. And in a way, the concept that Iroh teaches Zuko regarding directing energy can also be viewed as an analog to Iroh's never-ending attempts to help Zuko overcome his anger. As Iroh states to Zuko, "It is important to draw wisdom from many different places. If you take it from only one place, it becomes rigid and stale. Understanding others, the other elements, and the other nations will help you become whole." And this leads to the final reason I absolutely love Iroh beyond his humor, obsession with tea, and willingness to help people when others have given up on them. Iroh knows when to fight for what's right now, and we see this displayed in various ways throughout the season, whether he is protecting the Moon Spirit, Zuko, or escaping his own imprisonment, which, let's be honest, we all wish that we were as buff and disciplined as Iroh. But in the end, Iroh comes to the defense of the Earth Kingdom to liberate Ba Sing Se from the Fire Nation. as a member of a group called the White Lotus. In fact, Iroh is a Grand Lotus within the secret society which embraces all of the elements. This final reveal that Iroh literally embodied the teachings that he gave Zuko in Bitterwork was amazing. Once you embrace all the elements, you become whole. It's a total inverse of his early actions in his life. When Iroh was young, he thought that it was his destiny to take Ba Sing Se for the Fire Nation, but with the help of members of the White Lotus, he is able to liberate Ba Sing Se, realizing that this was his true destiny. And of course, this entire portion of the final act in Season 3 is incredible, because we see how powerful all the elements working in harmony can be. It's as if the White Lotus is a surrogate to the Avatar in a sense, and I think that's the point. This was Iroh's atonement for the siege of Ba Sing Se, for the wrongs that he had done in his past life. And the tea shop he sets up at the end of the final episode, at least to me, is Iroh's way of honoring Lu Ten, and how although he lost his only son in the war that he waged, that loss also placed Iroh onto the right path. Now go drink some tea, rewatch Tales of Ba Sing Se, may the force be with you, and AT-AT is signing off.